It's time for Where You Live with Gene and Tony, the show that's all about owning, buying, selling, renting, and association management. If it involves a home, we'll talk about it. Here's your chance to get your homeowner questions answered. From the Concierge Landscape Studios, here's Gene and Tony.
Needed the shelter of someone's arms, and there you were. Needed someone to understand my ups and downs.
Good morning. Welcome to Where You Live with Gene and Tony. I'm Gene Sullivan.
And I'm Tony Crockett. What do you got lined up for us today, Gene?
Plenty of stuff. We've got one local newscaster in Wilmington, North Carolina, who's claiming that an HOA is targeting one woman who blew the whistle on a condo raccoon problem. And so we'll take a look at that.
Okay.
The last time we talked about it was Stockton, California, and how they filed bankruptcy.
The city.
Yeah. And now another major city in California is filing for bankruptcy this week. And there is a news reporter who's asking the question, as cities are going bankrupt because they're not projecting what they need in funds for the future, are homeowner associations next? And then we also are going to make a comment. There are some little messages that we're getting from lenders when we are filling out the disclosure information, and wondering what might be next with FHA, what they could be requiring from folks who live in HOAs.
Okay.
And so we'll take a look at that and much more. Folks, you're listening to Where You Live with Gene and Tony. We're broadcasting from the Concierge Landscape Studios. We're brought to you this hour by Extreme Exteriors and American Family Insurance, the Kim Bennett Agency. But now, as always, it is time for Property Management in the News. Property Management in the News is brought to you by Pest Control Services. When you need to get rid of unwanted pests in your home or rental property, call someone who's responsive, professional, and a proud member of Angie's List. Give owner Greg Keener a call at 952-894-9748, Pest Control Services. Well, our first story, this comes from WWAY Channel News 3 in Wilmington, North Carolina, an ABC affiliate, and they're making a claim that a woman living in an HOA is being targeted simply because she blew the whistle that the condo association where she lives has a raccoon problem.
She calls it an infestation.
An infestation. And so it says that the article goes on to say that a Brunswick County woman says that after she came to the Channel News 3 affiliate in Wilmington, North Carolina, to tell the story about a raccoon infestation, after that, she has become the target of the Condominium Homeowners Association, and she's trying to figure out how to keep her home while the original problem is still unresolved. Her name is Susan Prater. Apparently, she called Channel 3 WWAY back in May, complaining she's got raccoons in her attic and in the walls at the Oak Island Beach Villas Condominium Association in Caswell Beach. The story aired. After that, this woman, Susan Prater, was told that the two dogs that she has living with her are breaking the HOA rules and had to go. So Prater found a new home for her dogs, but was then told she had to find a new place to stay. The story went on to say within an hour and a half of finding a place for the dogs, the owner of the condo, so I guess we know now that Susan Prater is not the owner of this unit.
We had to get halfway through the story before we saw that piece.
She's a renter.
And it never actually uses the word renter. It just says she's living there and she's not the owner.
Yes.
So, Yeah.
So now we find out, yes, that the owner received another letter from the association board stating, and this is what Prater said, her words, that the owner of the property would have to disassociate herself with me, and they were going to file a lawsuit.
Or they were going to file a lawsuit. She says,
or file a lawsuit.
This is an odd phrase. Prater said the letter stated if the owner did not formally disassociate herself with me, they were going to file a lawsuit against her.
I guess that means...
no part of that sentence really makes sense to me in this context.
No. I'm sure that if they continue to meet for coffee, if that's what they're doing, I don't think the association is going to do anything there. So
I don't know.
There's no disassociation.
She's implying that the HOA is trying to force the owner to evict her.
Yeah.
Or they were going to fine or somehow legally force the owner. But she doesn't use any correct terminology, and it's very vague what she's saying.
Well, even the people reporting this story, the journalists for Channel News 3, is this anything more than a veiled attempt at sensational reporting?
Yeah, it's a very poorly written story with not enough facts to support what's being said. Your comment, Gene, when we were reviewing this was, are all these actions, all these things that happened really all related? Or could it be that we don't have the exact timeline or we don't have the exact understanding of how things went down? I would be shocked if this renter had just learned that her dogs were in violation of the HOA rules. I'm guessing...
There probably were some notices.
After she blew the whistle, she probably got notice 3.
But perhaps she didn't want to share that with the news.
Well, no,
with the news station.
It's not as good a story.
But you know what? That happens. How many times in our careers in property management, you'll have someone who is not making payments.
Mm-hmm.
You don't hear from them at all, whether it's with a rent, they're behind, or with a homeowner, with their monthly assessment. As a homeowner, the moment they get paid, all of a sudden, bam! Now all of a sudden, here's the list. You didn't do this. You didn't do that.
Oh, you mean the moment they pay their rent?
Yes.
Or pay their dues, their balance due?
Then you hear them because now they have a superiority.
Yeah.
But other people will use it again as a guise to try and kind of divert attention from what the real issue is. They're not paying. There's some other issue, and so here she has possibly an issue with dogs. Has that been brought out? Is that something that this investigative journalist even tried to determine? I mean, nowhere did this investigative journalist, and I use that word lightly, talk to the homeowners association to find out what the rules and regulations are. Mm-hmm. Nowhere do we know whether or not there have been other notices, like you've said, that have been establishing that this person has pets that aren't under control.
Or are violating the rules.
Yes.
Many associations won't allow 2 dogs. Or some associations don't allow any
but there's
dogs.
so many. But the bottom line is there's so much we really don't know.
Right. That's right.
And to connect the dots this way makes it sound like here's a woman who, in a Don Quixote-like fashion, is fighting the windmill of this association and trying and
I don't even want to grace her with that with a literary correlation like that. She to me sounds like someone who's PO'd. She's been threatened with eviction, and so now she's going to do everything she can think of to try and obfuscate the issues, number one, and avoid being evicted. She also, at the end of the article, she's not happy with her owner either, who we assume is her landlord.
Yes.
She said, if she had kept up the fight against the raccoons, we wouldn't be here today. This would have been taken care of. She dropped the ball in the middle of it and then threw me under the bus in the process. I think there's issues between this renter and landlord as well.
Yes. The bottom line here, it appears that it was not the HOA that did the evicting, but it was the landlord who did.
That's right.
And at the end,
it was hard to you really can't pull together the whole story from what's given in this.
And
article.
the landlord in this case lost because it sounds like the landlord wasn't prepared for sharing in housing court what is needed to show proof that someone is breaking the lease. And if that is, that's kind of sad. Not that this person wasn't breaking any rules or didn't deserve to be evicted, but there just wasn't the thought process ahead of time to make that happen.
Right.
Well, hey, we've got to take a break. Don't go away. There's a lot more of Where You Live with Gene and Tony after these messages.